Welcome to Beyond the Coverage. I'm Chris Horner, and today's edition, guys, I want to cover the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 58. Remember, Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers? And I want to cover when management and the players are arguing with management. You guys remember seeing there with Andy Reid, the coach for the Chiefs? And you remember seeing Travis Kelce jumping all over Andy Reid? Maybe you don't know Travis Kelce. He's the boyfriend of Taylor Swift. Maybe you know him that way. Taylor Swift's boyfriend jumping all over Andy Reid. Now, if you guys were watching that live, it made a lot of news. Made a lot of headlines during the Super Bowl. And, of course, after the Super Bowl, both Travis Kelce and Andy Reid were interviewed. Andy Reid said it was no big deal. It was nothing. It meant nothing. Biggest thing was they caught him a little bit off guard and his balance isn't so good anymore. So that was the main issue that Andy Reid had with it. You see the player, Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift's boyfriend, you see where he says, I'm going to keep my comments to myself, and I love the big guy. It's no problem, right? And it really isn't. It's not a problem when writers and the management in the cycling scene, or of course players, when we're taking the NFL, and it's the biggest game in the world, the Super Bowl, and the Chiefs are behind, and they're fighting to try to come back, and Kelsey's there jumping on Andy Reid. Now, it's not a problem because when the big-time coach, or you're just the director sportif in the back of the car. Remember, a lot of these teams have multiple director sportifs. Sometimes the director back there that's driving the car, he's the manager of the team too. I had that when I was riding with the Vuelta a España in 2013, where I'm arguing with Luca, and he's the main general manager there, of course, of Radio Shack, because Johan Bernal was pushed over to the side. There's that whole USADA investigation issue going on, where actually at home I was talking at the hotel by telephone many times with Johan Bernal, but on stage 4, I was in the race leader's red jersey, and the team tactics were the race for Fabian Cancellara. Now, we lost the stage. Fabian Cancellara finished second on the stage, and I lost the race leader's jersey. When I came back down the hill there on stage 4 of the Vuelta a España, when it's all said and done, I get back to the bus. Luca and I are having it out. I mean, we're yelling at each other back and forth about the tactics of the race and all that stuff. But it's water under the bridge. It's no big deal. It really isn't. Now, people are going to be flared up, and you want your players, you want your riders to be a little excited and a little motivated. And the director back there in the car has to stay calm when it's happening. Luca, at the end of stage 4, after we lose the stage and lose the race leader's red jersey for Radio Shack, he's got to stay calm because I'm the one that's all amped up and excited because I lost the red race leader's jersey there in the Vuelta a España. So, and I didn't like those the team strategy there to race all out for Fabian Cancellara. I liked the plan to give Fabian Cancellara a chance at winning the stage. I just didn't like the plan of racing the whole Radio Shack till everyone's blown up coming into the last climb. And then, of course, I get boxed in, have no teammates helping me in the finish to stay out of the trouble. It goes curb to curb. I get stuck in the back, and there's a split, 25 guys, and I lose 6 seconds. So I end up losing the race leader's red jersey. But I didn't have a problem with Fabian Cancellara doing his own thing. I had a problem that they were using the whole team to do the work for Fabian Cancellara when I had the race leader's red jersey. And that was 100% given. Every time when I had been racing throughout my career, I always take what's given to me first. And if you think about holding on to the race leader's red jersey, of course you're going to hold on to the race leader's red jersey. If you want it on stage 3 in an uphill finish and you dropped everybody like I did on stage 3 of the Vuelta a España, on stage 4, for sure I'm going to hold on to the jersey as long as you have a little bit of help in case something gets a little out of control. In that stage, all I was getting out of control was going too slow for me, and it was going curb to curb, which was boxing me in. If it had gone faster, I'd have held the race leader's red jersey, no problem. So afterwards, when I'm yelling at Luca, it's going to be water under the bridge. He knows I'm upset about losing the jersey. He's upset too. And of course, we lost the shades because Fabian Cancellara didn't have a right teammate to lead him out to be able to keep everything together so that he can win the stage in the uphill sprint. So nobody was happy. But when we start looking at other riders, when directors may have gotten upset, and when we start looking at the past history, let's go look at the Solarism, right? It's 2024. I haven't brought up Marc Soler. And when we see what Marc Soler has done, when I take you guys back to the Vuelta a España, and we're looking at 2019 Vuelta a España Stage 9, and Marc Soler could possibly win that stage, but Movistar's telling Marc Soler, hey, you got to slow down because Nairo Quintana's coming, and you can put himself in the red jersey if you slow down and help Nairo Quintana, but Soler's flipping out all over the place. Now later you know there was an issue because Marc Soler had to come out and apologize. That's when you know the rider was wrong. Whenever the rider or the athlete was wrong, you always know if there's an apology afterwards that he was the one that was in the wrong. If the director sportif was in the wrong and the rider was yelling at the director sportif, most likely there's no apology ever put out the next day, so you might have to guess on who was right and who was wrong. But that's how you tell the difference. If the rider or the player was wrong, there's always going to be apology later. If the director was wrong, there might not be an apology in the press later on. So, but when you see that Super Bowl and you see Travis Kelce there, jumping all over Andy Reid, that's not going to be anything. That director, when we're talking about Andy Reid, the coach for Chiefs, he knows right away, I'm okay with this. This is my big guy. He wants to be in the game. He's motivated. He's excited. I want that. That's what every director wants. Now, I raced one year with Saturn, and we're going up on the Sunset Loop, and there's 3 of us going up the road. First lap on the Sunset Loop, we're 10 miles into the race. Jonathan Vaughters had already split the field, and he dropped everybody and then dropped anchor, and then his teammate dropped off, so they left 3 Saturn guys. We got to the top of the climb. I was riding up there at the front, and I didn't look back the whole time going up the climb. I was just holding onto the wheel there as Vaughters was drilling it all the way to the top. Once we got to the top, all of a sudden look back, there's a gap there. The 3 of us decided to go, right? It was a 3-man Saturn train. We had the big guy Nathan O'Neill with me, and Tom Danielson was there. And Danielson, when he said, hey, the gap's gone, we're gone, I thought, okay, we're going to sit up. But when I look back, like I said, I saw the gap, we were taking off. The problem is with Team Saturn is Andre Beck was the director sportif. I was one of the riders, but I was one of the head riders on Saturn. Andre Beck and I would talk many times the night before about what we thought would happen, what could happen, what might happen, what was going to happen, and everything. We cover all the bases and all the corners of all the possibilities throughout the next day's race. And we never covered what would happen if Jonathan Vaughters was going to roll us all the way up the road and give us a 45-second, 1-minute gap on the peloton the first time we went up the Sunset Loop. So even though we didn't talk about it the night before, when I'm sitting there with Tom Danielson, he's telling us the gap is gone, we're up the road, what should we do, Chris? I'm saying we go, even though I didn't talk about that with Andre Beck, our director. Now, when we did 1 lap of the Sunset Loop, we come back, and Andre Beck is sitting on the side of the road, and he's like, what are you guys doing? Sit up, go back to the field. And I'm like, no, we got a new plan. We're going full gas here because no one's going to catch the 3 of us. I just need to know what's going on in the peloton back there. And Andre Beck is yelling in my ear, and he's 100% right. The safe bet, go back to the group. But with 3 of us up the road, and I know when I do the math back there with what's left in the peloton of guys who can climb well and ride the front hard compared to the 3 of us up front, because Nathan O'Neill, a big dog, he was a big-time 53-11 pusher. This guy had power all over the place. Myself and Tom Danielson, who was on fantastic form too. I thought there's no way they can catch us, we're going. So I pulled the trigger, there we go. Later after the race, we ended up winning the team classification by 42 minutes, and they had to cut the race shorter for the peloton behind because they finished so far back because we blew it away. Andre Beck and I still had a talk after the race, and he still said it was a risky move. He's right, it was a risky move. It's one of those things where team and the team director and the rider have to have a communication and have a little bit of faith in each other, and eventually he got on board, right? But there is always going to be that drama between a director, a coach, and their rider or their players. It's always going to happen. When you watch Super Bowl, no big deal at all. When I go back into some more Solarism stories, I just got to take you back to 2022 at the Vuelta a Catalunya when we start looking at stage 6. Remember that stage? Well, stage 5, I'll remind you that it was Almeida that was in the race leader's jersey there, Vuelta a Catalunya. And they were chasing on stage 6, they were chasing Higuita from Bora Hansgrohe, and they were chasing Carapaz. Well, they're going up the last climb, and Solaris just had it and lost it. He is getting angry, and finally just drops out and goes back to the car. And of course, he's having some talks with the director in the car, and then just quits the race and basically drops off and goes back gruppetto all the way into the finish. And Almeida ends up losing the race leader's jersey on that stage 6 of Catalunya. Now, when you got a rider like that, you got to be a little bit careful, right? This is a type of rider where you're no longer allowed to argue with the director anymore because the director's not going to have any faith in you. They're going to have faith that they like you. Personally, they can like you. There's no doubt about that. I'm sure Soler's a great rider. He certainly can pedal the bike, and I'm sure he's a great teammate, But at certain points in time, a director sportif is going to know that, okay, when I'm dealing with a rider that's incredibly emotional like we saw there at Volta a Catalunya in 2022 with Soler, and then we saw him back with Movistar. We all saw the Netflix series, right, there in 2019. When you see it, when you get a rider like that, and I've had those riders on my team where you just know they're going to be emotional. So with other times when I was leading the teams, there's times when other times with Saturn, and there's been times, of course, with Webcor, where I've just gone up to riders and say, hey, stick to the plan. I know you're emotional, I'm emotional because we're both racing, but stick to the plan. That's not our plan. Do it, get it done. And it's water under the bridge afterwards as long as everything goes smooth. If the Chiefs had lost the Super Bowl and it was because Kelsey had done something to distract Andy Reid and they'd lost, there'd be a different story afterwards. But at that moment, when we're talking about the 58 Super Bowl in 2024, Andy Reid, Kelsey, no problem whatsoever. So you know Travis Kelce's going to have a good time with Taylor Swift at the end of the Super Bowl after they won. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'll bring you some more content here in the next weeks coming soon. Like and subscribe. I'll see you real soon.